welcome back. It is the Vegas Steak Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. By the way, a new story came out. Tim Donaghy, the guy who allegedly fixed NBA basketball games, he went to jail for a little bit. A new report came out from ESPN stating that that's exactly what he did. He never was charged with fixing NBA games as an official, but this ESPN report that came out says that's exactly what he did, and it goes into detail. We're going to try to get Tim Donaghy on the line tomorrow, so that's to be interesting. We're talking about this Jesse Smollett situation. We're going to continue that discussion, but before we get to that, we do have a caller on the line who did want to ask a UNLV basketball question. He's been waiting patiently on hold. So let's go to Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Good. Fellas, if we could play a little game. If Elaine Wynn walked into your studio right now and said, guys, I'm going to pay Rick Pitino $5 million a year, but I have some questions for you about him that I don't know anything about, and I need you to answer them for me. Could I ask you a couple questions that she might ask you?
Sure.
Okay, if she said, all right, guys, who was Karen Cyphers? What would you say to that?
I don't know who that is.
Well, that was the woman he paid to have an abortion with.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that the woman that he banged in the bathroom at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Seconds. And then she goes, "Okay, guys, but who was Brian Bowen? Who was that?"
Explain to me who that is.
I know who Brian Bowen is.
That's
Is that his assistant?
Brian was the recruit that was paid by.
Okay.
4 different coaches tried to pay him money. Creighton was one of them. Oregon was one of them.
Yes.
If you go back, she says his first coaching job at Hawaii, he was found guilty of 8 violations. What I'm getting at here, guys, is it's just too much of a risk for UNLV. They've spent 29 years trying to get away from that. They're trying to be a Tier 1 university now. They can't take that risk.
All right, so let me ask you a question then, Scott. Find me a coach like Alon Kruger who could turn this program around for $600,000 or $700,000 a year that would not only take the job, okay, but would sign a 4 or 5 year deal, and it would actually work. Give me one guy that you think will get the base going, that will put people in the seats, like Rick Pitino would get people in the seats. I'll wait. Tell me. Give me one name.
Dana Altman.
You think Dana Altman will get people in the seats? Are you serious, Scott? I disagree.
And Scott, you're going to find out very soon that Dana Altman's been committing a lot of crimes up there at Oregon too. He's been paying players left and right.
Find me a top coach. Find me a top coach in the country that hasn't bent the rules. Now, maybe Rick Pitino's worse than many. Okay, not a lot of them hold prostitution rings for their players. I get that.
That was my last thing.
That was a bit over the top.
I get that, but come on.
That's pretty impressive, right?
That's like, well, he obviously watched He Got Game at least 3 or 4 times.
Scott, let me be very clear, and then we're going to get back to this Jesse Smollett situation. But let me be clear here, okay? As Obama said, let me be clear, okay? Rick Pitino is a bad guy, okay? Rick Pitino is a horrible human being. With that being said, he is one hell of a basketball coach. As much of a horrible person he is, the guy wins everywhere he goes.
Just like Donald Trump always wins in business, and he is one hell of a president.
Okay, well,
Same thing.
I disagree on that. Okay, Michael Jackson was a horrible human being, right? He molested children, okay? But with that being said, I liked his music, okay? I say the same thing about Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino, horrible human being, fantastic basketball coach. I'm a fan of his coaching. I'm not a fan of his personal life. And I think UNLV needs to take that risk. And I think UNLV, if they hired Rick Pitino, number one, he's the only person on the planet right now that would take this job and would actually put people in the seats and win. You can't name me one other person. With all due respect.
There's only one thing, Brian. All those examples you gave, Michael Jackson and entertainment, those are not places of higher education. UNLV is a place of higher education.
I'm just telling you why I admire him. No, I'm talking about me. That's why I admire Rick Pitino. Not because he's a scumbag, but he's a hell of a basketball coach. I bought Michael Jackson's albums. He's a child molester, but I listen to his music. I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, as far as the investigation, look, you have a very good point. I'm not denying it's going to be tough for UNLV to pull the trigger on this. There's no doubt. It's going to be difficult. But I think he is the front runner right now for the job, along with maybe Thad Matta. To me, those are the top 2 guys right now.
All right. It'll be interesting.
All right, Scott. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the call, Scott.
Hold on. We need to put your mic on. I actually told him.
How do I turn my mic on? I don't know how to turn it.
I told him to turn it on. It's on right now. I actually told him to turn your mic off for the rest of the show, but I'll give you a break.
I get that. That's fine. I can be out loud.
You have a special guest.
Susie Draney, special guest, my insurance agent, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Draney Insurance.
Yes.
You do a great job. She knows Rebel basketball. She knows politics.
I do. I'm a woman, so I know most.
Well, you're definitely more attractive to look at than Ron. That's for sure. But anyway,
that's not hard.
So we were talking about this. We're talking about this. Thank you for coming in, by the way,
Absolutely.
Susan. We were talking a little bit about this Jussie Smollett situation, and we got some callers on the line that I want to get to here. It is a wild situation. 257-5396. Let's go to Orlando. I believe Orlando is next. Thank you for calling in, Orlando. How are you?
I'm doing well. Actually, it's Orlando.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents on this Jussie Smollett thing.
Yes, sir.
There's racism in this world.
Absolutely.
And but there's all this indignation because of what he did right now, and rightly so. I understand that. But where is it when this president calls Mexicans rapists and drug dealers?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How long have you been listening to the show?
I've been listening to your show.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
About half an hour ago.
Okay, but I mean, do you listen on a regular basis?
Yes.
So you've obviously heard me call out Trump for making horrendous comments about Mexicans, making horrendous comments about POWs. You've heard me criticize him for that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, and I'm not saying that, but I mean,
Right.
I just Ron Futrell say that this was a modern day lynching.
Yeah.
And called Smollett a terrorist.
Right.
It was actually me that called him a terrorist.
That was JD that called him a terrorist. I know it gets a little confusing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, where is all this indignation when this president does that?
That's a fair question. Let's ask JD that. Orlando, that is a very fair question. JD, where is all the anger when it comes to Donald Trump? He makes a very valid point there. You're calling this guy Smollett a terrorist, which I disagree with.
I'm saying what he did could be likened to terrorism because of how he pushed it through the media. How people call it a modern day
I think
lynching.
it's just fraud. It's fraud.
Yeah, it's
not terrorism.
a lot of things. But he was trying to cause a big racial issue.
All right.
On a national scale, which it would have done had it been true.
Orlando, why don't you go ahead and respond to that?
Well, that's what this president is doing when he has facts that, contradict his reasoning for putting up this wall.
Right.
But, we don't accept those facts. We just, gloss over them, and then we come up with alternative facts.
I agree. Right? Orlando, we are in complete agreement. I know that my co-host probably disagrees with you.
I think we need a female opinion.
But I do think that Orlando makes a lot of valid points there. I think if you're going to be angry, where's all the anger when it comes to Donald Trump? Where is all the anger? If you're going to call this guy Smollett a terrorist, or if you're going to call, I don't think many people would call him that. I understand where JD's not necessarily calling him an ISIS terrorist, but I understand if you're on the right, and you're going to be so angry at this guy Smollett, and you're going to be so angry at some of these people on the left that supported him when the story first came out. Where's your anger when it comes to Donald Trump? It goes both ways. You have to be fair. I think this guy Smollett, if this is true, he's a scumbag. He should go to jail. I also think our president's a scumbag. What do you think about that? 257-5396. I believe Joseph is next. Joseph, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Oh, guys, how you guys doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind, Joe?
Hey, when it comes to Trump saying stuff about Mexicans or drug lords and they're rapists, but he's only talking about people who have been caught.
Not what he said.
In this country. He's not talking about every Mexican or every foreign person who comes into the country.
Joseph, I'm just going by what he said, my man.
If you're a rapist and you come into this country, we don't want people like that.
Okay, so Joseph, I understand what you're saying, Joseph. If that's your interpretation, that's fair. But let me just read you the quote, okay? These people coming into this country, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. That is Donald Trump's quote.
Yeah, some of them are good people.
I suppose some of them are not good people. The majority of them are good people.
Some of them are bad.
No, that's not true.
Take it as your opinion.
Joseph, that's not true.
How you want to take it.
Joseph, that's not true, though. The majority of these people are good people.
You got to listen. You got to say, hey, some people are this way and some people are that way.
But that's not factual. The majority of these people coming into this country illegally are not bad people. I've never heard the president say something like that.
And that's some of them.
No, it's not.
Aren't they considered bad because they're coming in and breaking the law to get into the country?
It's selective hearing. He's not talking about everybody. He's talking about the group who are bad people and the group who are good people.
That's not what he said. Okay, Joseph, I appreciate the call, but your interpretation of what he said, you're trying to interpret something. I'm going by exactly what he said, quote. And I said it to you, and then you're saying, well, he just meant blah, 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 blah. That's what Donald Trump apologists do. Okay, that's what they do. I take a quote, Or somebody in the media takes exactly what he said, and they said, well, he didn't really mean that. Or he'll say, grab him by the you-know-what. Oh, you know what? That was just locker room talk. I am taking an exact quote. Okay, these people coming into this country, they're rapists, they're murderers, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. You know what? If he said, look, some of these people coming into this country are not good people.
Illegally, right? It was
illegal.
They're coming in.
Yes,
so they're breaking the law to come into the country.
But it doesn't mean they're a rapist. It doesn't mean they're a bad person.
But it doesn't mean they're good people either. When you're going into a country and you're not doing the proper processes to get into that country, you start off on a bad note. If you apply for a job,
but it doesn't mean you're a rapist.
Especially if you're taking jobs from people who are citizens of the country and you're getting money from the government, et cetera. And a big issue for me, honestly, is you're given 180 days to renew your visa. And if you don't do that, what are you doing? I mean, you can't get back to the country for 3 years after that.
That's
you're obviously not trying to be a decent member of society if you're not doing that.
I am not about to say that you are a horrible person, a rapist, a murderer, if you cross the border illegally.
That's a stretch,
okay?
Clearly.
Well, just because you cross the border illegally, with all due respect, in my opinion, does not mean you're a horrible person. It could mean a lot of different things. Like the woman who died in El Salvador, who crossed this country illegally because she was a transgender woman, and she felt no other way because her life was in jeopardy. Guess what? She got deported, and then she was killed. I wouldn't call her a bad person. I believe she had no other way. And I believe there are a lot of other stories out there. There are parents that cross the border with their children because they believe they have no other way, and I am not going to crap on those people like the president does on a daily basis. I just can't do that. We just have a difference of opinion. That's all. We got to take some more calls. Let's go to Josh. I believe Josh is next. Josh, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you? All right, that was my best call today. Thanks, Josh.
Fantastic call there, Josh.
257-5396.
He sounds smart.
Let's go to Brian. Brian, thanks for calling in. How are you?
What's up, Brian? I mean, Scott.
Hey, I'm doing good. How you folks doing?
Doing
well.
good, Brian. What's on your mind?
Well, I think the whole thing, the race card and the term racist gets thrown around way too cavalierly these days.
I agree.
Very true.
Donald Trump is not a racist.
You don't know that.
Does he say some things that are stupid sometimes? Yes, and I've said that to you many times in numerous phone calls that I've made. Do I wish he was a better orator? Do I wish that he could communicate better than he does? I really do, but he doesn't.
He communicates well. He just doesn't do it formally. He communicates very well. He just does it very, very bluntly.
Yeah, well, sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes when he gets rambling out there, like he did last week, it drives me crazy, some of the things he says.
You didn't like him breaking down and explaining what's going to happen through all the courts and how he's going to get sued just because he knew the process? Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought that was kind of funny, actually, that part of it. And it's going to be true. It is true. And who's the lady that's with you there?
Say hello.
My name is Susie. Draney.
She's a friend of Ron Futrell and a new friend of mine.
I'm an acquaintance of Ron. Let's not get crazy.
Yes, and a pretty good golfer as well, and a big Trump supporter. So I wanted her to come in because she supports Donald Trump. Can I just, as far as your racial comment, I have never called Donald Trump a racist, but recently I've said he's made a lot of racist comments that could lead people to believe that he is a racist. I don't know what is deep in Donald Trump's heart, but I am done defending him. Like the guy who just called up before you, Brian, okay? The guy makes a comment. Donald Trump says, these people coming into this country illegally, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. That is a racist remark. The majority of the people coming into this country illegally are not murderers and rapists.
True.
And
wait, how is that true?
Nobody really believes that they are, but as the lady there in your midst said, they break the law the first time by coming here illegally. And then when they go to work, they have to have a Social Security card, Social Security number. So they have to steal.
I understand.
Social Security number. That's the second.
What he should have said was some of these people are rapists.
And then they have to drive without a license until they get a license. So they're breaking the law that way.
I get that. Then the president should have said that.
It's a little thing.
I didn't say that.
Does that make them bad people? No, but there are rules and regulations that we all have to follow.
Then why can't the president talk like that? Why, if the president said that, I wouldn't.
No, I told you I wish you would.
Hey, Brian, do you think that Donald Trump is against homosexuals?
I think Mike Pence is.
Because Donald Trump today is trying to decriminalize homosexuality across the world right now because of what Iran's doing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. Mike Pence
You
would
okay with that? You with Trump?
Mike,
You with Trump?
Mike Pence wouldn't agree with that. I'll tell you that
we
right
didn't
now.
say Pence. He said Trump.
I said
Trump's
Trump.
the president.
Well, Mike Pence
You
is our
okay with
vice
it?
president.
You like Trump?
I never said that Donald Trump was against homosexuality. When have I ever
No,
said
you
that?
didn't say
I've
it.
criticized that moron, our vice president Mike Pence and his wife, those two hateful people. I've criticized them. His wife works at a school
dear.
where they can't allow homosexuals to go to school there or work there. Yeah, that is hate, as far as I'm concerned.
No, it's not. It's a private Christian school.
All right. Well, let's let David Duke open up a school in Las Vegas then. Why don't we just do that?
Fine.
What?
You know what? Nobody will go there, so that's
All right.
fine. You know?
All right, Brian. I
Let
always
me tell you what happened. Let me tell you
quickly.
I made a statement last night that I didn't have any trouble with Trump going golfing after declaring this emergency. Okay?
Yes, I remember.
And then when I got off the air, you kind of took a slap at me for saying
Well,
that.
yeah, because I think you're wrong. I think when
I never explained to you why I feel that way.
all right, go ahead.
When we can get a politician on the golf course and not in the Oval Office or not in the houses of Congress making our lives more miserable every day, that's a good thing. Plus, it's a de-stressor for those guys to go out and whack that ball around.
3 days in a row
it's
after
a good thing.
declaring
Yeah.
an emergency. 3 days in a row,
Yeah.
6 hours on
It's
Saturday.
good exercise. He's 72 years old.
This is the same man.
Yeah.
This is the
I
same
mean,
man.
you like to golf.
he
Come
needs,
on
he needs
now,
to keep that
right?
clean bill of health.
It's President's
Donald
Day
Trump.
weekend.
All right,
Susie,
Brian.
It's
listen
holiday.
to Susie for a moment. What's wrong with golf?
Brian, here's my problem,
Why do we hate
and I
golf?
appreciate the call, Brian. Donald Trump, our president, who you support, Susie,
Yes,
criticized
I am.
Barack Obama for playing golf. Donald Trump has played almost 3 times more golf than Barack Obama. Can you admit that that's
Maybe
what he
he's
does?
just doing a better job and he has more time on
Oh,
his hands.
come on. You don't believe that.
He's
you
doing
don't,
a better job.
You can't give me
How's
an
the
honest
economy
answer.
How's the economy,
you can't
folks?
give me an honest
How's
answer. A
ISIS
Trump
doing,
supporter.
folks?
Why
How's
can't you
North
just call
Korea doing, folks?
Why can't both of you just call him a hypocrite? Can't you just admit that he's a hypocrite? Is it so hard for you?
I think all men are hypocrites.
Oh, there you go. What a cop-out. All right, let's go to Lee. Lee's been waiting on hold patiently. 257-5396, the number to call. Lee, you're on the Vegas take. How are you?
Hi, fine. How are you?
Doing
Hey,
good,
Lee.
Lee. What's on your mind?
Yeah, since you're on the subject of him playing golf and whatnot,
Yes.
what were the Democrats doing during Christmas vacation, and who was in the White House working?
What does that have to do with anything? He just declared a state of emergency, and he's the president of the United States. Can you please say something that makes
sense?
sense?
State of emergency 20 years ago.
Okay, but that
Okay.
has nothing to do with my
These
point.
are people that elected him as president. You are crapping all over the people that have
First of all,
elected
the
him
majority.
president.
First of all, you're wrong. The majority of people in this country did not vote. Remember, he did not win the popular vote. So you're factually inaccurate. Next.
He is president of the United States.
When did I say he wasn't president? Next, please make your
Be
point.
nice to your callers, Brian.
Come on.
Be nice to
I think
your
I
callers.
did make
Be
my
nice.
point.
What is your point? That because it's been a national emergency for 20 years, you're okay with him playing golf 3 days in a row after declaring a state of emergency, eating omelets on his golf course? Is that
Where
your
were
point?
The Democrats 2 weeks.
Why are you
It should have
talking-
been vegan.
Why are you talking about
Hawaii?
Democrats? We're not talking about we're talking about the president of the United States with all due respect. Don't bring up Obama. Don't bring up the Democrats. I'm
Okay,
asking
well,
you.
I'm just saying this has been a national emergency for 20 years.
It's not a
And
national
this
emergency.
long,
No,
and
it's
someone with
not.
This much guts to finally state it?
You think it's guts to say Mexico is going to pay for it? He ran on a campaign lie, and you're okay with that? You
Mexico
call
is
that
gonna pay
guts?
for it.
No,
Since
they're
we're
not.
spending over
No, they're
$133
not. They
billion
are
a
not.
year
No, they're not.
on-
Goodbye. No, they're not. What are you talking about, Lee? Mexico is not paying for this wall. If you agree on the wall, and that's fine. But for you to go on the air and say that Mexico is paying, you know that's not going to happen. You are not being intellectually honest if you are an intellectual, and I'm not sure you are. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff,
I think
you're
Brian's
next.
anti-woman. What do you think?
No,
What do you-
I'm
What
not.
do you think? Susie,
Yeah,
so Susie here. What do you
feel
think?
No,
Is
I'm
Brian
not.
is he
I'm-
anti-woman?
No,
I think he's
I'm
anti-woman here.
anti-Trump. That's what I am. Ask
that's-
JD. JD, am I anti-woman?
Everybody,
Brian is
I
not
mean, you never
anti-woman.
sent
Thank
me
you.
a drink. Okay.
Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, thanks for calling in the Vegas Take. How are you?
Good.
What's up, Jeff?
Hi, Jeff.
Just good. Hi, guys. Just 2 quick points.
Yes, sir.
One on this, Trump saying that people coming up from the southern border are rapists and whatever.
Yes.
Just because he says that doesn't mean that they are that, but it also doesn't mean that they aren't that. The problem is you don't have any idea who's coming up, and certainly some of them are. and I don't think it's
Exactly.
It is reasonable to
It's
assume
just
that
process,
some are,
yeah.
and some are murderers, and some are criminals.
Yeah, we know some are. I mean, there's lots of documentation.
That's
and
not
if-
what he said. That's
And if you're willing to break a bunch of laws to enter a country, are you willing to break more laws once you're in the country?
Yes.
I'm sure you are.
Jeff. To your
Well,
point.
yeah, but I'm just saying, there's a rationale for controlling who comes in and out of the country because you don't know otherwise.
Yeah, I would like to know who's in the country.
There are something called
I'm
statistics.
interested in that.
Can I just say there's something called statistics, Jeff? And the statistics tell us that an illegal coming into this country is less likely to commit a crime than somebody like you or me. I'm assuming you're illegal and you live in this country.
Okay.
That is a
that's
fact.
Fine, but American citizens, we have to deal with them. They're here. They're born here.
Okay.
Why do you want, even if it's 10% less of the time, why would you be willing to accept just letting everybody in when,
Okay, well, let me be clear. Let me answer your question.
American citizens.
Good. That's a fair question. Let me answer it as honestly as I can, okay? The majority of illegals that are in this country overstay their visas. Now, I'm for border security, but if he wants $8 billion or $25 billion, whatever the figure is, we need to devote it not just for a wall. We need to devote it towards the entire problem of illegal immigration. Look, in a perfect world, I wish nobody in this country was illegal. In a perfect world, I wish people paid their taxes and they were legal. And I want anyone coming into this country that is not a felon, that is a good person, yes, I want them to do it legally. We have an issue in this country, and I believe Donald Trump and you guys all in the studio, it's like 3 against 1 here, including my callers. That's fine. I don't mind that.
That's
okay,
pretty rare,
I don't mind
by the
that.
way.
Okay, look, I believe that Donald Trump ran on a campaign that said we are going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. The last caller, Lee, who called in, is 100% wrong. Mexico is not going to pay for it. He campaigned on a promise that he cannot fulfill. So this wall, to me, is not about protecting America to Donald Trump. It's about his base. To me, that's what this is all about. Let's talk about the illegals that are in this country on overstayed visas. Let's talk about that. Why does the president never bring that up?
That's a good point. And I would also add that part of the problem with the whole illegal immigration thing is the draw that keeps them coming. I mean, the wall can do some things, but what you really need to do is change the incentives that draw people here. But the other thing I would like to say, just because you're ragging on Trump about going and golfing, is if you remember the journalist James Foley, he was beheaded.
Yes.
And Obama made this big,
And that was wrong.
He went golf. The point is
you're right. I understand your point, Jeff.
Pressure, and then they go and relieve the pressure. So
Jeff, I remember. Jeff, you bring up a really good point. I remember when that guy was beheaded, and I remember when Obama played golf the next day, and that was wrong. That was absolutely wrong. But here's why I bring up the golf, Jeff, and hopefully we'll agree on this.
Okay.
And like I said, Trump criticized Obama for playing so much golf. He tweeted about it when he wasn't president. The guy plays more golf than any other president ever. He is a hypocrite, and I'm
but
tired
what
of
gets
it.
done on the golf course?
Lots
of
me a
stuff.
politician or
Good things
anybody in
happen.
Washington.
By the way,
Yeah.
Brian, you're a very good golfer. And
lot
I don't know
of
why
deals
you
take
like
place.
golf so
Really
much.
good
You're a
golfer.
very good. Brian's a very good
Yeah,
golfer.
he's an amazing
Susie,
golfer.
don't you think?
Yeah. He plays the fastest round of. You should play with Trump. You'll get it done in a couple hours.
That's right. Jeff, I appreciate the call, Jeff. Thank you so much for calling in. What's the number? I forgot the number. 257-53. I get flustered sometimes. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, that number is 257-5396. I believe our next caller is Tommy, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Tommy is the next caller. Tommy, thank you for calling in. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Hey, Tommy. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tommy.
What's up, man?
Hey,
What's on your
Tommy.
mind?
Can you see
Well,
me?
after listening to all this back and forth bashing, I come to the conclusion of two things. Brian, you don't know much about economics. You're as good as AOC. And number two,
AOC.
if you were as good at poker as you are as bashing the president, you wouldn't have to work this job. I'm out.
Okay, yeah, you're just going to hang up because you're a coward. You're a coward. Tommy just hung up the phone because he's a coward. That's what a coward does. They'll say something and then they'll hang up the phone. Tommy,
Maybe he ran out of minutes.
Yeah. I'm sure Tommy knows a lot about radio.
I did like the Ocasio-Cortez comparison.
Yeah,
That was good.
Tommy, if you knew anything about radio, then you would actually be a good caller. But
Don't
you
we have a
call
caller
in.
ID? Can't we just call him
Well,
back?
that's what a coward does. They call into a show and then they hang up.
Maybe his call got.
He goes out.
interrupted.
He goes.
Tommy,
That's
can you
Verizon or
hear
something.
me?
He ends the call out like he knows anything about what he's talking
Do you think
about.
he dropped the mic? He actually dropped his phone and broke it.
I have absolutely no idea. But that's what a coward does. I would gladly have a debate with you, Tommy. I would more than gladly have a debate with you. But when you hang up the phone, you're a coward, just like our president who had bone spurs, and that's why he said he didn't go to war. Let's take one more phone call. 257-5396. 702-257.
Happy President's Day, everybody, by the way.
Yes.
You're talking about Wilford Woodruff?
702-257-5396. Let's go to
One?
Michael. Michael, thanks for calling in. How are you?
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, I'm well. And yourself?
Doing good, Michael. Please don't hang up if you call me names. Stay on the line.
No, I'm not an a-hole.
Thank you, Michael. What's on your mind, my friend?
Fine.
Well, first of all, I agree with quite a few of your opinions and all that. I'm a Republican too, and like Trump.
Well, that's refreshing. That is refreshing to hear, Michael. You already have credibility in my book.
I want to touch base on what you said about the wall, how Donald Trump ran on it and saying how it's basically it was a political agenda for him. If you remember, he did state that, he didn't there's other ways for Mexico to build the wall, whether that be via taxes or whatever.
Right.
So he did make that statement. I just wanted to put that out there.
I understand that, but I can tell you right now, Mexico's ain't paying for this wall.
No, not outright. I think through time and through taxes, it eventually will.
All right, well, we'll agree to disagree on that. I think it's going to be paid by good people like you and me and my three Republicans that are in the studio right now. That's who I think is going to be paying for the wall, but we'll agree to disagree on that. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, no, that was it. I just wanted to briefly touch base on that.
All right, Mike, I appreciate you calling in. I don't mind a different point of view, and I am glad that you're a Republican and you actually do agree with a few of my views. I can't say the same about Ron Futrell or J.D. Sharp, my co-host, but that's okay. Why don't we take a
Susie.
few more
What
quick...
about Susie?
Yes, he does hate women.
I don't know.
He does hate women.
I don't.
Clearly,
I don't hate women.
What do you have
No, it's
against
not true.
women,
That's not
Brian?
true.
Wow.
It's not true. You sound like a Democrat saying that. You're attacking me for no reason. You sound like a Democrat. Susie,
Such a leftist,
Susie, I don't hate women. That's not true. I'm just trying to get to as many calls as I can here in a very short period of time. That's all. Let's go to Phil. Phil, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing fine, and my name is Bill.
Yes, sir. That's what I just said. Oh, Bill?
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Is Ron Futrell there?
Yes, he is.
With you?
Yes, he's right here. Ask a question to Ron. Go ahead.
Ron, I wanted to know if you remember the Mike Tyson-Frank Bruno fight. You couldn't find a place to land for doing your reporting, and I was a Metro cop standing there, and I said, you stand right with me.
Yes, I do remember that. Thank you very much. No, I appreciate that. Was that, okay, Frank, was that at the Hilton?
No, that was at the MGM Grand.
MGM.
Bill, how long were you a cop here in Vegas?
25 years.
Wow, good for you. Thank you for
your service.
Yes, I was just going to say the same thing. That's pretty cool.
I appreciate that help. Frank Bruno, I remember the British fans in the stands yelling and screaming, singing their fight songs, and they were always had Christmas themes to them. It was weird.
We were forewarned that a group, and I'm not going to go racial here, but a group was going to come in and open up their long coats and make fun of the British. And every one of those British fans that was there was just drunk on his butt. It was pathetic.
But they were fun. They were fun.
Of course. You get a drunk Brit. They're always fun.
Well, Bill,
anyway, enough of that.
Yep.
Years ago, when we first moved here in 1964, Dad and I opened up a Shell station on West Charleston. And one of our customers was from Bogota, Colombia. His name was Raul Soron. And he came to us and he said, look, my brother wants to come to America, but he has to have a job before he comes to America. Would you sponsor him?
Yes.
And Dad and I asked and said, sure, we'll sponsor him. His name was Arcadio Soron. And Arcadio came and worked for us for 2 years. He was a pleasure. He was a gentleman. He became a U.S. citizen. He immigrated to the United States the proper way, and it has always been that way. You have to bring to our country some means of making a living.
Bill, I'm sorry. Bill, and by the way, thank you for that story. I appreciate it. It's not that simple, Bill. It's not everyone has the luxury like you and I. Not everybody has the means to be able to cross the border legally and become a citizen of America. That is the point I'm trying to make. And until you're in their shoes, I don't think you can truly understand it. The reason why I have sympathy for some of these people, I've seen what they've had to go through, and I'm not sure Donald Trump has, even though he seems to want to employ many of them at some of his golf courses. Why don't we take? By the way, Ken, before we go to break,
he said golf again, Susie.
I did.
He's talking golf.
We
again.
have a comment.
He loves golf. He loves golf. Are we going to talk about golf? You said 9 iron.
I'll tell you what. We'll talk about a golf. I want to get into a good debate with Susie when we come back from break.
Great.
What do you think
I
about that?
Before
we do
she's
that,
going to tear you. By the way, she was. I'm warning you, but go
That's
ahead.
Fine.
You jump into it.
Ken, before we take a break, I know somebody called in and they had a comment. Right? Is that what you said? So why don't you go on the air and tell us what the comment was so everybody can hear it?
So it was a short and simple comment. Who do you think has spent more time playing basketball in the White House, Trump or Obama?
Who do I think has spent more time? Well, that's a dumb comment because you don't play basketball for 4 hours. A round of golf is 4 hours. I can tell you right now, Obama, obviously it's Obama, but Donald Trump just spent 6 hours on the golf course on Saturday. I guarantee you when Trump picked up a basketball, he didn't shoot for more than 30 minutes. So that's obviously a dumb Trump supporter who tried to make a horrific analogy. And sorry, you lost, buddy. That's a dumb comment. Anyway, we're going to take a break. I'm going to battle it out with Susie, who is a big Trump supporter. I got 3 Trump supporters in studio here. I can't win, but we'll take a quick break. We got a couple callers on the line. Al, we'll get to your call when we come back as well. And if you want to be a part of this conversation, give us a buzz, man. 257-5396 is the number to call. 257-5396. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDWN.